Hello again, Fernando. I'm really glad to have you on Grande Rock, and really great job on your new album, Hermitage.
Thank you so much. It's very kind.
Yeah, I was having a listen, and it's really, really cool. Like, I like all the sounding and everything going on there as well.
Yeah, we're getting a very cool response. It's yet again a different turn in our whatever so-called career.
Of
We
course.
actually we actually don't overthink it. We always go a little bit with the flow, what we want to do. I think like the good old Portuguese fellows we're always unhappy about everything. So we always try to reinvent our country, ourselves. So yeah, we're getting away with it. That's cool.
Yeah. So it's obviously been a few years since your last album, 1755. And what happened during this period of time? What did you guys been up to?
Well, 1755 was quite like something that we haven't planned so much. You know, we
Yeah, of
did
course.
Extinct back in 2015, and Hermitage was always the album we kind of had in our minds to follow up,
Hmm.
give suite to Extinct even musically. But I mean, our plans were not meant to be, and also we were not very keen in having plans. And today,
Yeah.
see, plans are not important anymore. So we kind of got carried away by the opportunity of making an album that combined two of our biggest passions, Portuguese history, especially the history of an earthquake that changed
Yeah.
the face of Lisbon and Europe by its violence, but also there was a lot of philosophical things underlying that concept album. The fact that we was in Portuguese and obviously heavy metal sung in Portuguese. And then again, we were surprised we thought that people in Brazil and Portugal will dig the album and
Hmm.
will tour a little bit, but we were always touring in a way.
Yeah.
Um, it's like we were quite surprised about it even.
Yeah.
The thing is that we didn't think that the foreign people will get into this album that much, really. But they actually did. So we kind of spent it on the road, really. Nowadays it seems like a distant reality, but we were on the road. We've been everywhere, UK, US,
Yeah.
Russia,
Of course.
a little bit everywhere. But in between, we always had Hermitage in the back of our heads, and actually we started writing it in 2017 when the world was a bit different and
Yeah.
everything was, more hopeful, even though it was miserable as well. It was strange, but yeah, I think what happened, it was just like playing and playing and playing while songwriting for Hermitage.
Yeah. Of course. And how much did obviously COVID impact Moonspell in the past year, and also you think like the music business in general?
Well, it kind of took us by surprise, and it kind of, I think the music business and the culture and entertainment that really are, completely on the on the extreme opposite of social distancing took a big blow. Obviously, all our plans were, either delayed or canceled or postponed. But still in Portugal, the cultural community, the music community came together, and we could play some shows in Portugal
Yeah.
with the crowd. And I think that important for our mental health was that we kind of stepped down from our like larger goals, because the band is always like having big ideas. I want to tour there. I want to do this. I want to
Yeah.
promote the record, and kind of be content with what we had, because on such a typical year and such a such a catastrophic year, to have something to hold was
Yeah.
really important. Having said that, besides like sometimes going to the airport and coming back, especially because we were recording at the Oregon
Yeah.
Studios in the UK, I think it didn't affect that much. It just made us also think how lucky we are of being able to go to the UK with everything that is happening in there and record an album, to start with. I think that was really, in the passage of the year
Yeah.
between 2000 and 2021, I was like, I couldn't believe it. But the Hermitage album, even though it kind of is going to be read under a different light now after the COVID, it wasn't written having COVID in mind. COVID didn't
No, of
exist
course, yeah.
when we started writing it. But yeah, it takes a whole different meaning right now. It's an album about solitude, about taking a break, about being alone, and it kind of like the fiction of our album kind of became our reality. It was under a different light that it was written, but it fits the times definitely.
Yeah, so actually, COVID didn't impact much the writing and the recording of the album, from what I can understand, because obviously you guys had the chance to, come to the UK to record
Yeah,
as
we
well.
had to.
Yeah,
Yeah, we had to be smart. We had to take the that small window of opportunity, because what happened is that in the summer we have a
yeah,
lot of British people that live here, they have houses here, and they come back in the summer. So we kind of, when the political management of
yeah,
COVID came, I think it got complicated to all the countries. Also in Portugal, it got a bit complicated, and sometimes we were in the blacklist, but 2 days before, so we were always waiting for Thursday. It was when they announced that we could
yeah,
be
exactly.
and then we had, to wish very hard that we wouldn't be caught under that situation of having to come home or something like that. Yeah, it was complicated. But actually, when it comes to the more songwriting and lyric writing of the album, I think I'm convinced. I mean, I don't remember so well anymore because it has been so overwhelming that in 2017, without the virus, without the sickness, there was a kind of social distancing. Not that we couldn't be together, not that it was decreed by the law, not because it was to prevent some
Yeah,
kind of contagion, but really we couldn't figure out a way of understanding each other. I think the album is a little bit about that, about a big communication breakdown that allowed a lot of stuff that was quite absurd and quite on the realm of fiction
yeah,
to happen in our watch, during our watch. So I think the album was a bit about it, and yeah. Nowadays it's going to be obviously read under a different light, but I think we were kind of already going on the hermit trip by stonewalling
yeah.
ourselves. I mean, you couldn't talk about anything, music, gender, religion, race,
No, of
everything
course, yeah,
so pulverized, and I think Hermitage, it's kind of our way of telling ourselves and hopefully our fans that will think about it, probably they won't. I don't know. I have no idea that we need to take a break, that we were going through and
yeah,
we
of
still
course.
are doing. It's not a sustainable world. Obviously, we were all in bad luck, to get this. Even if you are sick or not sick, this is completely affecting everyone.
Yeah, of
Obviously,
course.
people who are sick, have pulled the shortest stick on these pandemics. But on the other hand, I think the big dimension of the pandemics has also to do with the lifestyle we have. We are always traveling. We're always like consuming. We're always thinking of more, more, and more, and me, me, me. And I think
Yeah,
this is an album that kind of tries to say, well, there's a little bit more than us, than about us. It's called Hermitage, but sometimes it means lack of community in a way. I think it's something that kind of vanished away quite rapidly in
yeah,
the
of
last
course.
few years.
What are your expectations from Hermitage? Do you guys have great expectation, I'm assuming?
Well, yeah, I'm 46, so nowadays my expectations about live and about the
Hmm.
way that it's going to work a little bit more like a cynical European, It's not that I don't care. I do care. I think everybody has a lot to prove
Cool.
all the time. but I'm not the kind of guy that I rather talk in interviews about, the behind the scenes, the motivations, and trying to sell our fish to people, because
Hmm.
you get this every day, every
Yeah, of
hour.
course.
You're like, you go to an internet page and say, if you want to see this, you have to see this first. So my expectations were to make a different album, a no strings attached album, where the songwriters were free enough to do whatever they want
Yeah.
within some kind of signature sound that we're trying to look for. Obviously, I had a very big expectations of working with Jaime Gomes Arellano
Yeah.
there in the UK, and I think it was great. I think it was the right man for the job. He also is a really cool host, so within the limitations of COVID, he took us on a stroll through the 12th century graveyards. It's more of a rural kind of England. It's
Yeah.
1.5 hours from London. And but I also believe that now it's up to the fans. Now it's up to the people. It's not, my job is a little bit almost done when we kind of close the sessions and lock the door to go back to Portugal. Nowadays, I can talk a lot about the album. I can say cool things about the album, hopefully. But it's the album itself. It's what was meant to be when we left the studio
Yeah,
that
of
is going
course.
to decide about them, but about the reaction and the expectation. I'm very happy because a lot of people say it's authentic, and for me, that was my biggest expectations and hope, is that we were going to change. We were going to get more darker and more psychedelic
Hmm.
and even more progressive, but we still want it to be Moonspell. So I think, yeah, I hope we are in good hands and that are always in good hands. But sometimes I feel, and it's already our 13th album, that it's not on our hands anymore.
Of course.
Nowadays, it's in the hands of the people and the reviewers. And so far, what I came across is that people really loved it. Some people hate it as well. That's life. I
That's
don't hate.
life. It's yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna happen with everything.
yeah, I don't hate music.
Of
Sometimes
course.
I dislike it, but I don't hate any music. I can say I hate it. Hate is very
It's
easy
really
words.
strong, yeah.
Yeah, and it comes to our mind and lips like really quickly. But I think most of people are really enjoying the experience, enjoying the journey in a way. And most people like the fact that Moonspell albums actually bring novelty and not the repetition of a formula that we've used before. Obviously,
Yeah.
that formula is in there. It's our ingredients. Let's call it this way. But there's a lot to chew on, definitely. It's an album to be discovered.
Yeah. And like you already kind of mentioned it, it's like it's what do you think is the main like factor that separate Hermitage from your previous album, especially 1755?
Yeah, 1755 was quite something. I think we're not still done with that kind of style, the
Hmm.
Portuguese, the operatic, but it sounds like a bit bizarre, even because it seems like we are always denying our past. But I see it's not really what we wanted to do. It's that also we really dread the repetition.
Yeah.
That's probably what we run from as a band, like the Vampires from the Cross. We don't want to make an album, people enjoy it, and make another one. That makes us like something that you insert the coin like a jukebox, and then you go there and you do everything that people want. I think music is like a blind date,
Of course, yeah.
really. And the blind date for Hermitage was actually to strip down all the layers, the operatic, the symphonic, and just being five guys playing music. I think it sounds very like even cheap, but it's actually what we wanted
No,
to
it
do.
makes sense,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's an album that you can listen like if you had a band in your room. And we're not making it's not like you have a choir of Valkyries in your room or like a big orchestra. It's just
Yeah.
five guys. And I think that sometimes music, heavy metal music, became so big and people are trying so hard. Sometimes I love heavy metal, but sometimes I have to listen to other stuff because sometimes the drummer is playing so fast, the singer It doesn't matter if it's a girl or a boy, she or him are singing so many notes so high, and everything is so over the top. And that's something that Hermitage isn't over the top. Everything is very subtle, I have to say.
Yeah. And I also found out that you guys have a new member on the band, which is the drummer Hugo Ribeiro.
Yeah.
And when did he join?
Well, in the beginning, in the end of 2019, we were
Hmm.
running into some problems with our old drummer, and then in 2020, I mean, it's always sad because we were friends and everything, but it kind of blew up, and we
Yeah.
kind of had to split up ways with Mike. And then the COVID came, and it took a while for us, to get the right way of announcing it, etc. But we kind of did it, and we needed a new drummer. Not that we had a lot of shows to play or whatever,
Yeah.
but it was also good for the chemistry of the band not to leave the place open, and also to have a drummer that could bring us also more enthusiasm, um, taste,
Yeah,
and
of course.
yeah. And Hugo just showed up. I haven't picked in myself. I was a big friend with Mike, so I kind of didn't want to get involved into choosing someone. So Pedro, our keyboard and keyboard player, also one of the songwriters, made his choice. So I was waiting and seeing to see, and then Hugo came to our rehearsal studio and he played it. And he was such a nice guy, not too much, not too little, those kinds of guys. And he had a lot of taste playing drums, a lot of enthusiasm as well, but a lot of taste playing drums. I think he still, even though he was such a typical ear, to be in a band, because the bands need time, the bands need to
Yeah.
tour together as well, to bound. That I think he did a great job. I think he's a really nice guy. I think I really like him actually, because he's a good person and an amazing drummer. And we were lucky in such a short notice, in such a hard year, to join anything, to make projects that Hugo joined and could come with us to record his first album. Everything happened in a flash, really. And nowadays he's a Moonspell band member, and he plays with us. And we could play those 4 shows in Portugal. We played some TV shows. We did
Yeah.
a bunch of video clips. So yeah, we're getting there with him. But I think it was definitely a great choice, even a blessing for Moonspell.
That's great. And obviously, with the past year and even now, there's been a lot of like virtual shows and like live stream. And what's your thought about it?
Well, in the beginning, I wanted to wait and see. The pandemics was just something really weird that our generation never went through.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see, I wanted the fans also to tell me what was the role of music in our lives and what was the role of Moonspell in particular in our fans' lives. And in the beginning, everything was kind of blurry in a way. There was a lot of artists going to the Instagram, probably attention deficit or something like that. I just kind of was like, let's see what's going on. Let's
Yeah.
try let the dust settle. And then we had the chance of making a few shows in Portugal. We kind of took it from there. And then the streaming was starting in a way, and we kind of joined the movement with the Halloween show in the south of Portugal. That then Halloween was delayed because the
Yeah, I saw
government,
that.
yeah,
I've been watching their live streaming.
yeah, because the government was like, we could have played it. It wasn't affecting the live stream, but people couldn't get there. But then on Monday they
Yeah.
say they could. All these big mess that we couldn't, get hold of. And then we did it on the 6th of November. It had everything to go wrong, but it went like really pristine, not a glitch. There was interaction, there was a good set list. People absolutely loved it. And I was quite relieved, I have to say, because we never did something like this on our own. It was our own production. So we had all these lasers to make it look good for people at home. I was speaking a little bit of English in Portugal. I had to apologize for people, but I had like a screen where people were like
Yeah.
chatting, to have some kind of interactivity. And then it was great because we had it for 72 hours. And then a lot of people wanted again. So we made it again. And then I was back home on Christmas with my wife and my kid. And it's just such a boring holiday, especially without a big family like we
Yeah,
do,
of
because we
course.
get drunk and maybe like you know and I said, well, I have to professionally recorded and mixed, so I'm gonna drop it on the YouTube. So I dropped it on our, on our Moonspell YouTube, and we get a lot of really cool feedback saying, "Oh, you saved our Christmas Eve," and yeah, and for sure nowadays Portugal is under lockdown and a heavy form of lockdown. So there, the cultural spaces, theaters, venues are not open. We think that they can be open in April, maybe. So we're trying to find out, like, we wanted to do something with this album at the Lisbon and Porto Coliseum. Those are 3,000 capacity, and we already played there. We already sold it out. But nowadays, it's not the time for big planning. So we're gonna do it
Yeah.
something more modest with 200 people maybe, and we're going to stream it. Yeah, probably around May. I think
Yeah.
we're gonna do it, and we're gonna do it with the same team, different songs, different concept, but we will want to do it because if you ask me, obviously, I don't think the metal music is a social distancing music, and
No.
probably people already were not watching DVDs anymore, etc. But when it's live, and the Beja was live, and then some people in Australia even woke up so early to watch it. There has these different feelings. So also, I think it's not about what I like or not. If there's a space for it and if the fans want it, we're definitely
Yeah,
gonna
of
provide it.
course.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right.
I would say like, yeah, that's we kind of need to figure out what you guys gonna do in future, what the future holds with the current situation. Hopefully, exciting plans and projects.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, the plan is to keep the head above the waters and to maintain the
Of course.
enthusiasm
Yeah.
because it's hard. It's not only people say it's a financial thing, and it is, but it's also a lifestyle. And I mean, I tour since '95, so it's many years on tour. It's not that I don't want to let go, but I still think it's the best way of promoting our music, of being with the fans, and we kind of miss it, as well. So we don't have many plans. I have to say, probably we're gonna announce a tour for the early 2022, and there's going to be some UK and Ireland dates
Hmm.
as well. And then we're going to also to announce a tour for October 2022. But things nowadays are very slow with the announcements because nobody wants to risk. But for sure, we will get back on the road. If things are going even worse, well, you always can have our albums, they're still
Yeah,
going and you can still listen to it and party at home. But
exactly.
yeah, but nowadays it's hard to make plans. Yeah.
Of course, exactly. And I still got a couple of questions that are a little bit more like, not as formal, I would say,
Okay.
that we usually ask to everyone that we interview. So like
No
they vary
problem.
sometimes. So the first one is, how did you guys came up with the name Moonspell initially?
Well, it was back in '92, and we were called Morbid Goth, and it was such a horrible name. Not really horrible, but such a cliche name. There's our old bass player. We all made like a list of names, and he came up with Moonspell, and we thought that's a really cool name. Is
It
it
is.
is it is it taken? And said no. But nowadays, Moonspell, it's when we see the Instagram hashtags and tagging, there's a lot of like it's very common and typical between the witches community. There's a makeup called Moonspell as well. We have the
Yeah.
trademark for the band name. So it's quite a cool name, and I still have some really like these novels that are really cheesy, called The Rites of Moonspell. These romantic novels
Yeah.
like Arlequin, etc. So yeah, I think we kind of changed it because the other name wasn't working. Yeah,
Yeah, I've really loved the name.
that's
So
cool. Yeah.
yeah, it's really cool. Uh, do you think that the streaming service, the streaming live, have helped the band and the music business in general?
Financially, not a bit,
Yeah.
because the business model was okay when there was like 20,000, and I have Spotify since the beginning. I thought it is such a great platform to get your music across. But I think when I wouldn't say the profits, but when the community got so larger, I think they should redistribute better the
Yeah.
money, because it's a great idea, but without content, it's nothing. It's empty. Obviously, we're all tied in, and there's this pushing game between labels and digital. And sometimes, I'm a constructive guy, so sometimes I spoke with some of the Spotify executives because they are available people. And I told them, well, yeah, we can discuss this forever, but it will be so easy to take one zero from the left and putting on the right.
Yeah.
And I think bands do deserve that.
Yeah, of course they definitely do. Especially now more than ever, I would say.
Yeah, I think they
Yeah.
should. I mean, if we want to see this in a corporate kind of things, we are also shareholders, so they profit more. They should have distributed more, definitely.
Yeah. And what do you think is the best Moonspell album according to you?
We always have to answer the cliche. It's the last one because that's one that resonates more with us. But I think our best album in many ways is the 96 Irreligious. I think it was the right music for the right time, had that effect. We were totally media sweethearts and fan sweethearts. It was a very sweet time. There was no criticism. Everybody loved it. Still
Exactly.
has one of our best songs like Opium, Mephisto, Full Moon Madness. It really came down really, really well. I think Hand in Hand is probably our best album.
Yeah. Uh, it's been a pleasure. So thank you very much, Fernanda. It was lovely to talking to you.
Okay, same here. Be safe. Okay. Thank you
Bye.
very much. Bye bye.
Bye.